Hi everyone, I'm Laura and I'd like to welcome you to the Transforming Health podcast, brought to you by Johnson & Johnson. In this series, we'll explore some of today's biggest challenges in getting new and innovative medicines to patients. We'll look at why these challenges exist and what's being done to overcome them. And we'll do so with experts who work in this space every day. So in today's session, I'm really excited to be talking to my colleague, Leila Choueiri, VP of Manufacturing and Technical Operations at Johnson & Johnson in Switzerland. Welcome, Leila.
Hi, Laura. Thanks for the invite.
Yeah, great to have you here. So first up, Leila, can you tell me a bit about what makes research and development critical in getting medicines to patients?
So, Laura, if we want to talk about R&D, and in order to make it a bit more concrete, let's talk about the evolution of cancer treatment. So my grandfather, who I never got the chance to know, was diagnosed with cancer many years ago and went through the early day of chemotherapy. My mother described how the treatment made him sick and weak. While it treated the tumor, he had literally no quality of life. And if we look at the evolution of cancer treatment, we have shifted from the one-size-fits-all chemotherapy to targeted therapies. New drugs are designed to target specific molecule in cancer growth, which results in a more effective and less toxic treatment. And these advancements in R&D are offering new hope, but are also significantly not only improving survival rates for patients, but also their quality of life. And none of that would have been possible without all the work of the Research and Development Organization, where we continue to push boundaries of science, of technology, to advance new treatments. And talking about cancer, I'm convinced that one day we will be able to defeat cancer, stop it before it breaks out in the body.
Fantastic. And I love that. I love that positivity, Leila. And there's no doubt that we've come a really long way in oncology and other therapy areas since your grandfather's time. But there's also an observation that drug discovery is getting slower and more expensive over time. What's your view there?
Yes, so Laura, I think there is a tremendous advancement in the innovation space and also in the drug discovery with complete new medicines. Now, I can understand that perception because if you look at R&D in the pharmaceutical industry, it takes about 10 to 15 years on average to develop a new medicine. It costs about 1 to 2 billion US dollars. And the risk profile of our industry is also much higher than any other industry. So while we have this high cost, long timeline, failure rate is 98%. That means that only 2% of the medicines make it to the market. So that can explain maybe the perception of our industry, especially when you benchmark with other industries.
So that is a huge cost and a really high failure rate, Leila. It sounds expensive. Now, we know that Switzerland is really leading the way when it comes to innovation in Europe. Is that because we know that it's a very wealthy country and there's lots of money to play with?
Well, Laura, so first of all, innovation is not only about money or new technologies. I think innovation requires an entire ecosystem for it to grow. And I'd like to say that innovation is unstoppable and it knows no boundaries. And it certainly will not wait for a country to be ready. It will find its place. And as you mentioned, Switzerland is one of the countries with the highest innovation output according to the Global Innovation Index. But this is driven by multiple factors. So one of them, so first of all, Switzerland is one of the world's most stable, low-risk countries, which is a key factor today, considering this increase that we're seeing in geopolitical risk, tension, and risks around the world. Switzerland has also a very well-established infrastructure and economic policy that provides an attractive framework to attract business and foreign investments, as well as a strong intellectual property protection framework. It has maintained good relationships with other countries, including trade agreements with the European unions and other countries. Another very important piece is on the talent side. So Switzerland offers a high quality of life and is therefore attractive to many, many international talents. And we know diversity of talent is incredibly important in all fields, but really particularly also in research and development. We talk a lot about artificial intelligence, but diversity, which I call collective intelligence, is incredibly, incredibly important to advance innovation. And Switzerland is attractive to international talent. And still talking about talent, it has a nice education system. So Switzerland has a very good apprenticeship system, but also top universities. So you have the diverse pool of talent ranging from the apprenticeships to the top university that offers that diverse workforce.
I'm sold, Layla. When can I move?
You're welcome, Laura.
So if we look more closely at the pharmaceutical sector, how have companies like Johnson & Johnson been able to innovate in the environment you just described?
At Johnson & Johnson, we have a robust manufacturing presence in Switzerland. So we have a manufacturing site in Schaffhausen where we employ 1,600 people roughly, with diverse skills that range from production operators to engineers to scientists across multiple disciplines. And since the 90s, roughly, we have invested more than 1.3 billion in that new facility to keep the technology state of the art. Laura, allow me a little bit, which is a little bit my passion. We speak a lot about R&D, but I want to touch on manufacturing because there is also so much innovation happening there. And J&J, the site that we have in Schaffhausen, has a large manufacturing footprint. So I think if we talk about these advancement in the innovative portfolio, that actually innovation is unstoppable, and manufacturing is strongly linked to research and development, to R&D. So finding a compound that works is one step, but making sure that it can be supplied on a large scale around the globe is another key step. So really timely access to medicine, I like to say, is an art in itself. And as innovative therapies advance, manufacturing continue to take a pivotal role in scaling up production. And we don't talk about manufacturing, or when we talk about it is when you can't supply a product. And I think we've seen that during the COVID crisis. While we had an effective vaccine, but all the challenge was now, how do you scale it up at a larger scale, and how do you make it accessible to many people around the world? So really, manufacturing is not only about making medicine, it's about making medicines possible. And I want to come back to the previous point when I say we don't hear enough about manufacturing. In our world, we learn to interpret silence as a compliment. Because when you talk about manufacturing, usually it's because there are supply issues. So when you don't hear about us, it's a compliment. But I just want to acknowledge that all the work and all the innovation that happens behind manufacturing, and it's not just, our world is not just about developing drug, is about making those medicines possible, accessible to patients all around the world.
Yeah, and I love that you mentioned that we all became aware of the importance of manufacturing quite suddenly during COVID, when we realized, there is a big jump between having a treatment or a vaccine ready and actually being able to get it to the people who need it. So yeah, great point there, Layla, waving the flag for manufacturing. I wanted to ask, in terms of sustainability, I know that Switzerland is kind of a force to be reckoned with in this department as well. Do you have any examples there?
Yes, thank you, Laura. I love that question, because we are very passionate about sustainability. And I think I spoke about Schaffhausen, and we have a great example of sustainability. So on the site in Schaffhausen, we do pre-filled syringes and pens that go to patients. So after the patient does the self-injection of the drug, the patient can use an envelope that we provide and deposit that envelope in their own mailbox. And then the post office will collect the envelope and take all these used devices, filled pens, to one of our recycling partner in Schaffhausen, which is one of the leading recycling partner in that area. And what happens there, the device is disassembled and the suitable components are reused. So if you think about it, I love that example because we have the pre-filled and the pens that are manufactured on the sites in Schaffhausen, and they go to the patients and then they return to the same site. So in a way, we call it our safe return program, and it creates a very nice example of a sustainable Swiss product ecosystem from production to recycling and reuse.
Yeah, it's a fantastic example, Leila, because it illustrates so beautifully how many different stakeholders also have to be involved. It's not just Johnson & Johnson who can create these solutions. You have to be in that innovative environment as well. So just thinking about other countries in Europe, what can we learn from healthcare and pharmaceutical development in Switzerland?
Yes, I think if you take a few steps back, what I'd like to say is innovation requires a lot of courage, a willingness to take risk, and especially in our world, but also in any area, it comes with a given investment. In some industry, it's higher than others. For the pharmaceutical sector, it's obviously very high. And what is important to know is, again, technology is not about the technology only. It's the entire system that needs to have the right level of maturity and the willingness to advance innovation to allow it to really grow. The other piece, Laura, and you just mentioned it with the example of sustainability. Obviously, partnership and connectivity are extremely important and more important than ever in today's world. So I'd like to say that silo thinking is that could be in a company on a functional level. It could be on a country level. I think it is a bit of a killer in today's environment. So neither a country nor a company can operate in isolation today. So strong connectivity at all levels to maintain competitiveness is absolutely key today. And last but not least, and that applies on a company level, but also on a country level, we must always remember that even if we are in a position of strength, what got us where we are today will not get us where we need to be in the future. So really challenging status quo, pushing boundary at all levels is very important. And I think I always say, in our world, in the pharmaceutical world, when we do that, there's a cause behind it, because we spoke a lot about the advancement of innovation while we continue to come up with new therapies, but there are still millions of patients around the world that are waiting and hoping for a new therapy. So there couldn't be a bigger motivator for us to continue to push our boundaries and advance innovation and bring it to life, means bring it to the patient.
And that seems like the perfect note to close on, Leila. It's great to see how fired up you are about innovating in Switzerland and the future of our sector. So thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you very much, Laura. I enjoyed our discussion. Thank you.